topic was building resilience. Why don't we start with everyone going around the room and everyone introducing themselves and saying what is resilience to them in this time of quarantining? Claire, why don't you start?
Hi, I'm Claire. Building resistance is, I don't know, staying safe and, doing the best they can with everybody in this crazy time.
Okay.
And trying to get information. I just did Thomas Cohen's webinar again, which was pretty amazing. So getting information too, trying to be educated about what's going on too.
Ralph, what is resilience to you?
Turn off the telly.
Turn off the telly. Excellent idea. Excellent idea.
Yeah, that's a bad one. A lot of bad stuff. Get good stuff, but what's the name? Our governor is doing very well, but I think others kind of tear us down. Yeah, just stay focused and don't worry. Things will work out.
Excellent, excellent. You haven't lived for 92 years for nothing.
93, be 94 in August.
Yes, 94 in August.
Yeah, my use by date is coming up.
So Ralph spoke some very wise words too. Norel and Tom, what's resilience to you guys?
For me, I've been questioning everything all my life. From my grandfather, who was a diplomat, who questioned and said when JFK was murdered, he said he was murdered by his own kind, don't trust the government, and to question everything, trust and verify. And it kicked in a few years ago. And resilience is when I'm always searching for the truth, whatever the truth is, from multiple sources and insiders and whistleblowers, to find being a truther and then trying to share with people what I know, and then being knocked down all the time, considered a conspiratorial person, conspirators, whatever they call it. Resilience is having to stand for the truth and knowing it's to help others if they're interested, to plant a seed, not to fear, but to be aware, knowledge is power, and to keep coming back stronger than ever.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, Tom, don't go away. Tom, come back.
Come back, Tom.
What's resilience to you? She's taking out the garbage.
Okay.
That's his
we have not forgotten, Tom. We're going to come back to you after you're done taking
out. He's here now.
It's kind of like the time-ice clock, the ability to keep on ticking, just like Ralph and Margie.
Aha, yes, excellent.
Whom we adore. We adore them.
Claudia, what is resilience to you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. She's in Hawaii, folks. She's in Hawaii.
Oh, aloha.
Resilience to me is trying to stay on a really good routine and keeping positive, not succumbing to the million of different TMIs going on, but using my brain effectively to filter out information that really won't serve me, to continue to stay in contact with situations like this where I can get really good information and just really practicing my daily practices. I'm fortunate that the ocean is still open here. I can go in the water for an hour or two every day. Nice. They have what they call kapuna hours where only old people can go in the store, so I'm doing that.
Nice.
And I have my granddaughter here. I brought her over from Los Angeles when things were getting a little testy for my family there. They're in total lockdown, can't even walk around or anything. So I'm really glad she's here. So resilience to me is giving back to the world as best I can. I became a supervisor for some of the more difficult census operations over here. So I'm still working hard at that. Even though the going around and seeing people by my people I'm training to do new maps here and all that has stopped. There's still a lot of detail work there. So I feel like resilience to me is staying active and staying positive.
Very key. Very Yes. Excellent. Renee, what is resilience to you?
Of resilience is enlightening yourself to the situation, to what's out there, and being able to bounce back. So, and focusing on stuff. That's it.
You guys are so wise and so smart. Between all of you, you've done more resilient things than I could certainly do in my life. Karen, what is resilience to you?
For me, it is letting go of my anger and sadness at, the media and the misinformation that's being spread, and trying to, look at all the positive in the world, and also trying to figure out how I can fight for what is right.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Paula DeRango, Margaret.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, for me, it's coming back all the time, and building up my strength by whatever means, especially Sushma, you've helped me to be resilient.
Yes.
Hope I can stay that way and even get stronger right now, which is really.
Yeah, you're stronger this year than you were last year, for sure.
Oh, definitely. Thank God and thank you all.
It's wonderful to hear. Suzanne Roth Paulson.
It's Rothpop. Thank you. So I agree with everything everybody has said, and I do a little bit of every bit of that as well. But my three things are in order to do those things, is to eat whole, organic, clean food, to exercise and movement in moderation, and the third is meditation. And in order to do those things that everybody's talking about, I have to do those three things. And it helps empower my body to be able to do those things.
That's wonderful. Ellen Marie, you didn't speak about resilience. You spoke about your COVID experience. Tell us what you think building resilience is. You have to unmute.
I don't hear anything.
Ellen, you have to unmute your speaker, my dear.
Bounce back.
Okay. All right. No, something's the matter. Okay. So we will start with our discussion now. And the reason this is called building resilience is everybody I meet on the road, in stores, is stressed out, terrified. They've got more and more scarves have been coming out, and people won't hug you and kiss you and touch you. And those are all necessary things for quarantining. But at the same time, I'm finding people are freaking out a little bit. And so I had a few thoughts on building resilience, and we will go through those. But we want to explore them in the context of this coronavirus pandemic. So what has happened is we've always had these pandemics, right? So we've had flu epidemics, had the SARS, we had the bird flu. And it is a fact that previously you'd have a plague every few hundred years or every few decades. And now they're getting closer and closer to one another. There's a term called zoonosis, where a virus travels from, say, a camel to a human being, or from a bird to a human being, or a pig to a human being. And that process of the mutation of the virus to the point where it can infect and sicken a human being is called zoonosis. And used to be, it took about 30 years. It took about 30 years for this to occur in the course of natural life. But now, there are a lot of factors that are making it much faster. If these viruses have continuous growing media, then the zoonosis can occur in as little as a couple of weeks. If you have growing media, like in a lab, in a laboratory. So we have a lot of that. We have a lot of virus replication going on. We have bioterrorism efforts by different countries. We have drug resistance in our population. So we as a population are resistant to antibiotics. The antivirals don't really work because the virus mutates so fast, but they manage to destroy your kidneys and your liver. We have a large population of people that are traveling all over the world. There is pollution, chemical pollution, EMF pollution. So the factors that are leading to pandemics and causing the acceleration of pandemics, guys, are not going to go away. So we are faced here with the possibility of these kinds of virulent pandemics that, you know, from what I hear of people suffering, the suffering is terrible. The suffering is terrible. The key here is to understand and accept it and figure out ways to make ourselves stronger. The way to make ourselves stronger is not necessarily shutting ourselves down economically, where children can't go to school, you know, students can't go back to university, people who are small businesses can't start their small businesses, but to understand what is going on and react appropriately. And I think what has happened now is we have about 100,000 deaths in the world, and we have shut down half the world. We have shut down half the world. For about a quarter, we have taken down our gross national product by a quarter, essentially several $1 trillion now. And the cost of shutting down is pretty high too. Hi, Sunshine. Hi, Ruth. The cost of shutting down is pretty high too. We have actually got data on this thing. For every 1% drop in unemployment for a population of 330 million people, you have a 58,000 person death rate. This is death from going into poverty, death from malnutrition, death from anxiety, increased stress, cancer, depression, suicide, accidents. So the cost of shutting down is pretty high too. So pandemics are, the two things to remember is pandemics are part of our life. The cost of shutting down is very high, too high. And we personally need to take responsibility for some of this and operate in ways that are healthy, despite everything that's going on. This is sort of like a conflict between the individual and the collective. In order to protect the collective, we are shutting the individual in their homes. It is sweeping. So it is something that's implemented by government. It is something that is overcoming the individual's constitution. And this is such a heavy duty acute disease that no matter what miasm you have, what constitution you have, a human being is capable of succumbing to it. So there's a lot of collective behavior in these kinds of pandemics that we want to think about and be very aware of in dealing with how we address this pandemic. And you folks hit the nail on the head when you said, get sunshine, get pure water, get fresh air, walk about, be grounded. And we'll come to all of that. But I wanted to talk about the stages of the coronavirus. And I have been looking at all the homeopaths around the world who have been working on this to see what are the remedies that might work for the kinds of symptoms that you see here. Stage one.
Somebody's moving marbles.
Someone is, yes, why don't I mute? I'm going to mute folks. Oh, here we go.
You can mute them.
I feel like I can mute everybody. I don't want to mute myself.
Me too.
Same as system. There's a function where I can manage participants. To mute all. I'm muting you all, guys. And
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Now everybody hear me okay? Of course, I'm not going to know because you won't be able to answer me. Okay, so this is like talking to myself, which I don't really like. So stage one here is a headache, common cold and flu-like symptoms, a severe headache, could be diarrhea, could be nausea, could be lack of appetite, could be stomach aches. And for stage one, what seems to be working is aconitum and bryonia, aconitum 200 and bryonia 200 for the early symptoms. The second remedy that seems to be working is arsenicum and the mercury remedies, which are antiviral. Mercury Viv, mercury core, phosphoric acid for debility and weakness, because there's a lot of weakness in this coronavirus. Stage 2 is when your chest starts to fill up, when you get a gooey, gummy, honey-like discharge accumulating in your chest. And what they've found to be really good for that is antimonium tartaricum, and it has very specific keynotes. So in homeopathy, folks, you've got to have the similimum, meaning you have to have the remedy that matches your symptoms as closely as possible for it to work. The other remedies will work, but not necessarily as well as the what is called the similimum, which is a remedy that mirrors all the symptoms of whatever you got. And that is proving to be antimonium tartaricum. People are having very good success with that. Arsenicum iodatum. So it's this combination of arsenicum symptoms and iodium symptoms. So arsenicum iodatum is another good one. Gelsemium if you're very tired. Bryonia if any movement bothers you. If you're very thirsty for large quantities of water, but you just want to lay down, you have a blinding, splitting headache. So Bryonia is a good remedy for all 3 stages of the disease, of the acute as well as early stages. And phosphorus and phosphoric acid are again for debility and to try and not let this thing get down into the chest. And in stage 3 is when you get this dry cough where you cannot expectorate. You might have ropey mucus that is stuck in your throat. And the remedies that are proving to be good ones for that are arsenicum iodatum, and again, antimonium tart, colibicromium, crotalus. Let me just move the picture so I can, I can't see. There we go. Crotontiglium. That is if you feel like there's an elephant on your chest. You can't breathe. You're gasping for breath. Seneca is another good chest remedy. Spigelia for the splitting headache. So the kind of headache you had, Ellen Marie, Spigelia would have been very, very helpful.
Yeah, because I took something from Uriel Pharmacy, and I don't have it right here. Ocellium.
Or you had arsenicum album?
I'd actually have to. I'm going to go get it, and I'll tell you what the name was. But it did not work.
So Spigella would have been wonderful. Stannum metallicum, if your chest is so tight you feel you cannot breathe. Sticta pulmonaria, we've had very good success with that, and Lobelia purpurescens. So these are the remedies in different stages.
So Spigelia would have been good for the headache?
Yes, Spigelia would have been good for the splitting headache. Bryonia would have been good for the splitting headache. And what you want to do is, when you have this unbearable pain or unbearable symptoms, you take the remedies every 10 minutes, even every 5 minutes. It is not the time to take the remedy once a day or twice a day.
And I'm sorry, Sushma, I'm sorry, in addition to Spigella, what is good for bad headache?
Bryonia.
Bryonium. Is that somewhere on this?
Yes, Bryonia. Bryonia.
Oh, Bryonia. Okay,
yes,
got
yes.
it. Bryonia.
Yeah. So the stage 1 is acute when it's just hitting. Aconitum is a good remedy, and Bryonia as well. And then for the last stages, when it gets into your chest, these are very good remedies. The other thing that happens in stage 3 is sepsis. 50% of the people that are dying from sepsis, which is infection in all the organs and multiple organ shutdown. And for that, pyrogen is an excellent remedy. Pyrogen is excellent for sepsis and when the infection gets deep into your body, deep into your blood. So 3 stages, there's a bunch of remedies for each stage. And what I would recommend to you folks is these are viral remedies that address initial fever, flu-like symptoms, cough, cold, right? Extreme chest troubles, struggling for breath, all the way to sepsis and splitting headaches, sepsis, chest problems, etc. And so it is a good thing to have some of these remedies on hand, because what you don't want is to go looking for remedies in the middle of the night when you're sick. So what I would recommend strongly is everyone get a kit, make a kit out of these remedies and have them on hand, and educate yourself on what each of these remedies is for. And we will keep doing the education bit over and over again. And let me tell you the reason for this. 80% of the people who have gone on ventilators have died. The ventilators are not solving the problem of not being able to suck in oxygen. It's as if the body is not able to take in the oxygen. They're gasping for breath on ventilators. In fact, the ventilators could be contributing to the death. When you go into ICU, what is happening is they're throwing everything possible at it. They're throwing antibiotics at it. They're throwing antivirals at it. Most of the antivirals and antibiotics are not working because they're not designed for this specific virus. Add to that a load of people who are elderly and who are on multiple medications already. And what do we see? We see hepatic failure. Your liver is failing. Your liver is not failing because of the disease. The liver is failing because of the drugs. People are dying in large portion when they hit the ICU from the massive amount of intervention that's not working. So before we head for hospitals and doctors and emergency rooms, what we want to try and do is abort the virus at every step. And that applies to coronavirus, it applies to SARS, it applies to the flu virus, it applies to your common coughs and colds. And that is where homeopathy is your friend. Early in the game, early in the game. As late as stage 3, it'll help. I am not convinced that taking people into ICU is necessarily saving our lives, because most of the people in ICU, or the people that were in ICUs and have died are the elderly. They are on prior medications. They're given a bunch of more medications, and that doesn't seem to be helping. So these are gentler medicines, and we will talk about food, which is probably the most important medicine. But I wanted to go through the symptoms of each of these remedies. So stage 2, or actually from stage 1, is antimonium tart. Antimonium tartaricum. This is a good remedy when you have hoarseness. Your voice is hoarse, you have great rattling of mucus in your chest, but very little comes out. So you're going, but nothing's coming out. It's a honey-colored discharge, expectoration. And the keynote in the coronavirus is it actually gets better when you're laying down. You know how when you get up, usually you feel better because you can cough it out. You can cough out the phlegm. In this coronavirus, people are feeling better lying down with their lungs filled with that honey-colored discharge. So you're coughing and gaping. The bronchial tubes are overloaded with mucus. There's weakness, and there's great weakness in your chest. You feel like you can't breathe, like an elephant is sitting on your chest. That's antimonium tart, especially on the right-hand side. The second stage 3 is arsenica myodatum. This is great for stage 1, 2, and 3 if you suspect you have this. And it's good for headaches as well as the emaciation with hoarse, racking cough, a lot of expectoration of a very foul nature, and with heart weakness. You generally feel debilitated. You have watery diarrhea. You have pneumonia-like symptoms where your lungs are filled with cotton wool. You feel like your lungs are filled with cotton wool. And when sepsis is threatened, sepsis means infection, blood infection. And that's the stage before pyrogen is when you take this arsenica myodatum. Another great remedy that every person over 50 needs to have on hand is something called Seneca. So what you want to do is prepare this kit, prepare it in advance, and then depending on what symptoms you feel, you take it, regardless of your constitution. So you might be a sulfur by constitution, you might be an arsenicum album by constitution, but when there's an epidemic, it can overcome your constitution. You can get sick anyway. So Seneca has extreme hoarseness, it hurts to talk. You have bursting back pain, pain in your back when you cough. So you go and you can't cough because there's pain in your back. Your larynx has cutter. There's loss of voice. There's hacking cough. You feel constricted. Your thorax, your windpipe, food pipe feel constricted. And your cough will often end in a sneeze with Seneca. There's much mucus. And again, the same thing does not happen to every person, although many of you have had the blinding headaches and then the dry cough and the honey-like expectoration in the chest. There are 2 or 3 other viruses going around right now that are pretty bad too. And that is why we have a bunch of different remedies that'll work for them, but you need to have them on hand. Bronchial cutter with soreness of chest walls, a sensation of oppression. And the recurrent theme in this flu season, in this coronavirus season, has been oppression and weight of chest. Difficulty of raising a mucus, especially if you're older and have prior conditions. Asthenic bronchitis with nephritis or chronic emphysema. If you're a smoker, Seneca is a great remedy. You have pressure on your chest as though your lungs are forced back to the spine. Your voice is unsteady, your vocal cords are partially paralyzed, and that is Seneca. Spigelia is when you have severe pain in your head, and it's like it's breaking your head. It's breaking your skull. You feel like there's a band. It's almost meningeal pain in your head. Extends all the way to your eyes. It's semilateral, meaning on either both sides, but frequently involving your left eye, and the pain is, and then it goes to the right eye. It's violent pain. It's throbbing. You feel terrible when you walk. If you make a step, it hurts in your head. And the pain is as if a band around your head. It comes with dizziness, and your hearing is exalted. It's very acute. You can't stand noise. Another very good remedy to keep on hand is Stannum metallicum. And the symptoms of this again are an elephant on your chest, paralytic weakness. Mucus is expelled by forcible cough. So you can't just go, you have to go to cough it out. So it's a violent dry cough, primarily in the evening until midnight. And it's excited by laughing, singing, talking. It's worse lying on your right side. It's during the day with copious green, sweetish expectoration. Your chest feels very sore. So Stannum metallicum is a great remedy for paralytic weakness, something sitting on your chest. You can hardly talk, and any influenzaal cough from noon to midnight with scanty expectoration. Your respiration is very, very short, very short. You have stitches in your left side when you're breathing and or lying on the same side, and you have great emaciation, and you might have fever. So there are many people who did not really get that much fever, but they had all these other symptoms. But fever, I don't know what your experience was, Ellen. Did you have fever?
My fever traditionally runs low because I have Hashimoto's. When I went and got checked, I went into the evaluation tent at Kaiser, and they took my temperature. It was a straight up 98.6, which I find fascinating.
Yes.
I haven't been 98.6 for a very, very long time.
I see.
Yeah.
So you thought that was high fever for you because your normal temperature is low. But in general, I've also heard people say, I'm chilly and I'm feeling weak, but I don't have a whole lot of fever.
Exactly. I had a lot of chills, a lot of like hot, cold, hot, cold.
Excellent. Yes. So great, but not good, but good to hear the symptoms.
Yeah.
So another very good remedy is Sticta pulmonaria, and this is dull. And by the way, guys, these are a compilation of all the remedies that homeopaths around the world have been working on with hundreds of millions of patients and finding to be good remedies for this particular virus. And so these are things that have actually worked. The death rate in the homeopathically treated people has in several places like 1. less than 1, or not at all. So the death, what you're trying to avoid here is not getting sick, but not dying from the sickness. And you want to abort it in the early stages. You want to increase the mildness or reduce the intensity of the illness, and you want it to be like any other illness. So that's what you're striving for with homeopathy. And you're avoiding going into the ICU, where you have ventilators and antivirals and antibiotics and a host of other things that are very, very hepatotoxic. Okay, the next remedy is ticta pulmonaria, dull, heavy pressure in head, your throat is raw. Your dropping of mucus posteriorly in the back of your throat. There's a dry, hacking cough during the night. And inspiration is worse than expiration, meaning breathing in is very difficult. That's a ticta pulmonaria. So this facilitates expectoration. You get loose cough in the morning. There's a pain in the chest, pain through the chest from the sternum, which is the bottom of your ribs, all the way to your spinal column. Sorry, misspelled it. It's like the cough after measles, and it's worse towards evening and when you are tired. So the key thing to remember with this, the other thing to remember is, I've had a few people feel very sick for 2 days, then they get completely better. So they start going, hiking and running and so, whatever. And the day after they become double sick. So it's a 2-part illness, near as I can tell, where you get very sick, get better, and then it's sort of proliferating. And if you are not resting, it gets a lot worse, a lot fast. So you want to take care and just rest if you feel sick. That having been said, 95% of the sickness is not really coronavirus, it's other stuff. And for 97% of you, you won't even have symptoms other than minor cold symptoms. So it is getting a few short number of people. The people that it's hitting hard. The 1% of the infected or so, or thereabouts, it's hitting hard, but you will recover from it with the right precautions. And we'll go through the food precautions after this. The last remedy is not the last, but another one is lobelia perp, which is when you have very superficial respiration, your heart and lungs feel paralyzed. Your respiration slows down. Your heartbeats sound like a boom of a drum. You can hear your own heartbeat. So that's lobelia, and a couple of people on this felt literally 90% better within a couple of hours. They felt like they were dying before. So these are great remedies to have on hand for all respiratory diseases, not just this one. And now I wanted to open this up. Can everybody talk, or are you still muted?
I can talk, and Sushma, the only question I have after that presentation, which was so wonderful, is can you repeat, because these are things like if you start to feel sick, you should take these remedies like every 10 minutes, you say?
As soon as you start feeling sick. Okay, yes, that's a very good point. Let me go back to what you do. At the first stage of illness, you take aconitum 200, bryonia 200, tickles and throats, coughs, colds. They don't have side effects. They're not going to kill you. They're not like chemotherapy or radiation. At worst, it will not have an effect if you're not sick. But if you are sick, it will abort the disease in stage 1. You can take it as frequently as every 10-15 minutes, every 5 minutes, every half hour. Aconitum bryonia is a wonderful combination. Take 1 dose of phosphoric acid and 1 dose of phos, and depending on what your symptoms are, if you are thirsty for small sips of water, if you're very restless, if you can't sleep from midnight to 3 o'clock, then arsenicum is what you want to take. But take it. And it's better to take what you have than to not take anything because you don't have what you need. That is rule number 1. Anything you take is going to have some effect, if not full effect. That answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Stage 2, antimony tart, arsenicum iodatum, mercury, gelsemium. Continue taking bryonia. Bryonia is good for stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. For those of you who only have aconitum and bryonia, take aconitum bryonia stage 1 and stage 2 and 3. Just keep popping the bryonia. Antimonium tart specifically for the chest symptoms, arsenicum iodatum for all the symptoms as well as the chest symptoms, mercury for the virus, and stage 3. And if you have specifics like headaches, that's spigelia. If you have specific chest symptoms, you have ars iodatum and tart for a honey-like discharge, calibichrome for a green ropey discharge or expectoration or mucus, proton tiglinum, you feel like an animal is sitting on your chest. Pyrogen at the stage 3 and 4 when you get sepsis. It will keep, there have been cases where pyrogen has kept people from dying from sepsis and multiple organ failure. Seneca, Stana metallicum, and Sticta pulmonaria and Lobelia purpurascens. So these are the remedies you want to have on hand. These are some subset based upon the kinds of respiratory illness you typically get. Questions?
Are these slides going to be available to us by?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Could someone else speak so I know that you guys can talk?
Hi, it's Renee. I'm here.
Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, so we talked about Antart, we talked about ars iodatum, we talked about Seneca spigelia, we talked about Stana metallicum, Sticta pulmonaria, Lobelia purp, and now we're going to talk about the 8 laws of nature. So some part of me is delighted that there is no manufacturing going on. Anyone seen the carbon monoxide maps world over? It's like every city is clean and clear. We are breathing far fresher air, where the sun is better, the quality of the sky is better. And so in some way, nature sort of inflicted this punishment for all to make us realize that we are violating the laws of nature. And so, you guys are so good, this probably does not need repeating, but I think the reason all of you have been well and not had the kind of illness that I'm seeing going around here is because you drink good water, you get good sunshine, fresh air, your nutrition is pretty darn good. No one's eating white bread here. People are walking about. Elimination is good, and when elimination problems occur, we're addressing those problems. And we have family, friends we love, family we love, pets we love, and we can touch them and hug them. And that is the key, those are the key sort of RXs we need to observe during this time. Are we getting pure water? The spring on Stinson Beach is open, just so everybody knows. You can go get spring water. Make sure you're drinking good water. Is everyone going out into the sunshine, regardless of anything else? I hope so. Because that is one of the things that will help you get well. Need fresh air. Nutrition, we need to eat lots of fats, folks. Everyone got their butter, eat lots of butter, eat things with short chain fatty acids in them, which is coconut oil and butter, because these gum up the replicating envelopes of the viruses. And if you're on a high fat diet, it's highly unlikely, and on a lower carbohydrate diet, it's highly unlikely that you will get to the point of emergency room or ICU, even if you were to fall sick. One of the things that's important is to trust that nature has designed you in perfection. It has designed you in perfection. And if you trust your body, if you trust your instincts, if you trust nature, you will be okay. You will be okay. It's important to turn the Wi-Fi off in your homes. Everyone doing that, or use it, or I have it on right now, unfortunately, but I'll switch it off. Use it only when you absolutely need it. Keep your phones in airplane mode at least, if not switched off. You don't want to complicate the problem by having electromagnetic frequencies that exacerbate any condition. And you want to go to sleep when the sun sets and rise when the sun rises. And for most diseases, I think, if we obey these 8 laws of nature, there's nothing as healthful and beneficial as just going by those. The other thing is inflammation. We have a lot of 5G installations going on here. We have 4G installations. There's a huge drain. Our system is electrical. Our entire body, our mitochondria run on electricity. They're little batteries. And when this sort of thing happens, it's critical to ground yourself in your lawn, on a piece of dirt. Get the shoes off. If you look at a shoe, that it was designed to kill us because it's got so many layers of insulation. You do not feel the earth, 7.8 hertz frequency. Hugging a person, kissing a person, all gets rid of the electrical charge that's on our body and grounds us. So don't stop embracing your family members, your pets. Don't stop putting your feet on the ground. If you can't get to a beach, at least put them on the ground. That'll take away inflammation. That'll help cure you faster if you're sick, and that'll prevent illness. The second most important, the very, very important thing in resilience is photosynthesis. We are photosynthetic beings, not just plants. We need the visible light, we need the infrared light, and we need the ultraviolet light to make vitamin D. Our gut flora that are sitting in our gut right now, if we go out into the open with our belly exposed, they are getting some of these rays that we may not be getting, and they're making goodies for us. They're making neurotransmitters, they're making vitamin B on demand. There's nothing as fraudulent as sunscreen. 50, 100 years ago, there's no cancer, no skin cancer, no sunscreen. If you burn from the sun, eat a high-fat diet and gradually expose yourself to the sunshine. Wear hats in the early going, but please, please avoid putting on goops, lotions, potions, and sunscreen stuff on yourself and your children if you want them to be healthy and not succumb to viruses. There's no better cleanser than the sun. These are some data, dates of introduction of suntan lotions and sunscreens, and age-adjusted melanoma incidence rates per 100,000. This is the Connecticut Tumor Registry. Went up from like nothing, 2.5 per 100,000 to all the way to, we're at 25 per 100,000. It's probably a lot more now. This is older data, I should update this. But suffice to say, the sunscreen and sunblock industry has made billions of dollars while our rates of cancer have gone up in exactly the same proportion as their revenues have gone up. So please avoid using sunscreen and suntan and go out into the sun. Principles of healthy eating. And this is another good thing about this. All the restaurants are shut. My daughter can't go to her mission restaurants. Quality food available at home. And a lot of people chafed at it. They chafed at it in the early going. And then there's a run on baking goods and eggs and meats and chickens and seeds and so on. So it's, in some ways, this is like a awakening for a lot of people. But for you folks who've never eaten refined food, don't need to say that. You want to, at this point in our life, you want to eat very nutrient dense food. So pay for the quality, whether it's $7 a pound or $10 a pound, but eat clean food without pesticides, without insecticides and herbicides, and organically grown. I hope everyone is eating some animal food. I hope everybody's eating some raw animal food in particular, whether it's raw milk, raw cream, raw butter, raw meat. It's delicious, and it's going to save you it's going to give you the ability to make the enzymes, to make the immunoglobulins, to make the necessary chemicals to fight viral disease. I hope everyone is eating ferments, 4 ferments 4 times a day with every single meal. And amongst you, there's amazing fermenters. Right? And there's so many recipes. Just talk to Karen about ferments. She gave me this chipotle.
Hello?
Hi, Karen, is that you?
No, it's Sunshine.
Oh, hi, Sunshine. Did you
I
want to
sent
say?
out, I forwarded an email that Drivers Market in Sausalito is presenting an online streaming of fermentation of all sorts.
Ah, there you go. This
Yeah,
is
I don't have the information with me right now, but maybe one of you who received the email can forward it on or post it.
All right, please do
Mhm.
so. Ferments are very important at this time because it is your gut bacteria, viruses, and fungi that will fight the coronavirus, that'll fight the flu virus. You will find that people who eat ferments don't get sick. They just don't get sick as much. People who don't eat ferments are missing out on the good bugs. If you eat grains and seeds, soak, sprout, and leaven them to take in, assimilate all the nutrients in those grains and to get rid or neutralize the phytates and the lectins. I cannot emphasize enough eating fats. At this point, increase your fat intake. When you say I eat butter, folks, 2 to 4 tablespoons of butter per day does not, to me, qualify as butter eating. And I could eat probably 10, 12 tablespoons of butter. So eat a lot of good, healthy fats. Eat avocados, coconut oil, but mainly animal fats, because animal fats contain, can anyone guess which fat-soluble vitamins they contain? A, D, K, and E. You're saying it. I can read your lips, Sunshine. A, D, K, and E, which are critical in making the proteins that are needed to furnish our immune system with what it needs. So fat-soluble vitamins are critical in an illness or before an illness. Eliminate, if you have not eliminated vegetable oils, this is a good time to eliminate vegetable oils. The ones that I would recommend would be the more saturated ones, which is coconut oil, olive oil, only if you know of the source. And the most important thing is broths and soups, chicken broths. I hope someone was making you chicken soup, Ellen, when you were sick.
I have plenty in my freezer, so I have broth ready to go.
Okay.
Yes.
And just congratulations and big hugs to you for just coming out of this and coming out whole.
Yeah, Sushma, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's that underlying health. It's that underlying
That's what's going to protect you.
that makes us resilient. And I think that all these people dropping dead just have been eating too many, Hostess Twinkies.
Yes, or and just not thinking that much about food and assuming that medications will help them. We are getting into an era of pandemics where these medications, the age of antibiotics is over, the age of antiretrovirals or antivirals is over too. This virus mutates every 15 days. Vaccines are completely useless.
Well, Sushma, when I went into that evaluation tent, the first thing they wanted to do was give me a flu shot.
What?
Oh yeah. They wanted to shoot me up right away.
Wow.
In addition, they wanted to give me some kind of, I didn't even ask them what it was. Maybe it was something like Tamiflu, but they wanted to give me flu medication. I asked them what it was instead of just,
Yes. So we have a Department of Defense study which has actually shown that people who get the flu, and that's one of the reasons more of the senior citizens, I think, are falling sick because they took flu shots, and it greatly increases your chances of acquiring coronavirus and metapneumoviruses and respiratory syncytial viruses. So when you take a flu shot, your chances of the RSV increase 7 to 8 fold. I think the chances of pneumo and pneumometavirus and coronavirus go up 60, 70%. So these are huge risks in getting this kind of virus. And so I think virologists are thinking about this as well. What happened, if you remember, we had this feline H1N1 virus, a vaccination. And what happened was they gave it to half the cats and they did not give it to the other half. And then they exposed the two sets of cats to the virus, and the ones who got the vaccine all died. And the ones who did not get the vaccine got sick but did not die. So there's something about this flu vaccination in particular that wipes out your immune system into amnesia by a process called immunodomination. So be careful if that's what they do in hospitals first thing. No wonder people are dying in ICU.
And you know, one of the things that I just have to say this, what the look that I got from the doctor when I told him I had not had a flu shot, the look of contempt.
Really?
Oh, it was, you know, he's going, well, why don't you take a flu shot? And I told him I was allergic.
Good. And you know, guys, politely, whatever you can do and say,
Exactly.
please do so. But a bigger picture has emerged here, and that is we cannot get stuff from Argentina, grapes from Argentina out of season. We cannot get mangoes from the Far East out of season here. And this has taught us a very big, that by the way, the man on the bottom is our farmer who made us the butter, Larry, who to my mind is God. Up there is Albert Strauss of Strauss Dairy. I would recommend make 50% of your food budget local, 50% of everything you buy local, you know, whatever it is, and eat locally. You know, we don't grow coconut oil here. Why not eat butter? You know, we can buy butter annually at, you know, whatever, $6-7 a pound. I think that's about the same price as coconut oil, and it's fresh and it's made by people we know. We know there's no industry in Marin. There's no organophosphates, you know, by and large. It's all organically grown. So I would say this is an opportunity for us to not rely on things that are more than 500 miles away or 1,000 miles away. And for all of us who have gotten into the habit of eating locally, strangely enough, it has not affected us at all. So you don't have toilet paper, so what? You use water, you use a leaf, but you got food on the table, and you got good food on the table, and we already had it. So I would say buy local. The other thing here is the road less traveled. You're gonna find there is going to be pandemics. There's going to be accelerated pandemics. There's going to be governments that have what is called the institutional imperative, meaning even if one president or prime minister didn't want to do some of those things, because his next door neighbor is doing it, he feels shamed into doing it. And so every government is shutting down the economy. Every government is doing this. They're all saying masks, this, that, and the other. What you want to do is think about things ahead of time. And we, as a group, are taking the road less traveled. And that is very important, because, you know, a year before the coronavirus, 2 years before the coronavirus, we are doing things very, very differently. And that is, to my mind, that's our saving grace. Part of that is toxicity, getting the toxicity out of your life, out of your house, saying no to vaccines. This is a picture of an influenza vaccine, which contains thimerosal, which contains 25 micrograms of mercury per dose, one of the most toxic molecules known to mankind. It's got rubber latex, it's got animal DNA. So it's like you're putting in, you know how when you have liver transplants, what's a liver transplant? It's a foreign liver that you're putting in the body of a person whose liver has died down or not functioning anymore. And forever, for their entire life, this person now has to take immunosuppressive drugs in order to survive, in order to let that liver stay in their body. Every time you put animal DNA, animal matter, animal RNA into your body through the vaccines, you're putting in a massive amount of viral RNA into your body, bypassing your immune system. You're putting in essentially foreign organisms into your body, bypassing your alimentary canal. You're putting it straight into the muscles and into the blood. And what's that doing? It's causing the body to raise a reaction to that foreign invasion, exactly as it would if you put a transplanted liver into a person. Only you put in lots of it, and that person now has autoimmunity, meaning the body's constantly trying to attack itself. No, it's attacking the mercury, it's attacking the foreign DNA and RNA. So we have the ability to prevent some of these no-brainers, preventing drugs from entering our body, ibuprofens, aspirins, steroids, statins, blood pressure medications, painkillers, etc., and keeping that toxicity out of our liver so that our liver can help to fight the actual disease. So that's heavy metals, persistent organic pollutants and chemicals. You want to keep them out of your life, and we have largely, all of you have done that. EMF is very, very big. What it's doing is levels of electromagnetic radiation that humans are not used to cause our barriers. There's a single cell barrier between the gut and the blood. There's a single cell barrier between the blood and the brain, and the space between the cells increases from the EMF, and it allows stuff that shouldn't be there to get into those areas. And that is why, Wuhan, I think November or October, they rolled out 5G. They had more 5G than the entire United States in one city. It was rolled out simultaneously with vaccines. So you got toxicity on the inside of the body. You got EMF hitting them from the outside, matter of time before, entire populations got sick. And entire populations will get sick, and entire populations may not get sick, even if you subject them to the virus. That's the beauty of a good immune system, right? So it doesn't affect everybody. A virus doesn't affect everybody the same way. If your immune system is primed to deal with the virus, you're not going to get sick. And so I would say take out Wi-Fi in your house, switch off your phones, walk in the sunshine. Don't get talked into drugs and injections by doctors and hospitals. Eat good food, and find your spiritual base, whether it's meditation, whether it's going to the church, synagogue, sitting down with your family at lunch and, holding hands, or, whatever.
Stay parasympathetic. Stay parasympathetic.
And parasympathetic. That's the spiritual aspect. Let nature guide you, and don't worry about things at all. A little bit about the liver damage. One of the big things that's happening to people, and what they're saying is the coronavirus damages the liver. My theory is it's not the coronavirus. It's the therapeutics that are damaging the livers and already damaged livers, and that is taking away the ability of the person to metabolize, to deal with oxygen, to deal with toxins and so on, making respiration difficult. And one of the primary remedies, homeopathic remedies, respiration difficult in liver problems is hydrastis. Liver with breathing issues in a sticky, gluey, everything is connected, right? Your liver is not working well. How are your lungs going to work well? So hydrastis is a great remedy if you have liver disease. Chelidonium is a great remedy if you have liver disease, or if you feel that you have toxicity in your liver. That should be part of your kit, especially if you're over 50, especially if you are on any kind of medications. You need hydrastis, you need chelidonium to make your liver stronger. 80% of people on ventilators die. And so the problem is not that they don't have enough air, but that they're not able to use the oxygen. They're not able to utilize it. And so that is that. I'm going to put
Sushma, what were those two things that you said make your liver stronger?
Hydrastis and chelidonium. And now let's get back to the chat. Claudia said, thank you. Thank you, Claudia. Yes, the rustling was there. We will figure it out yet. Slowly. Why is the recording paused? I think?
Question,
Yeah.
this is Margaret.
Hi.
Are we able to have what you have just told us?
Yes. Yes, we can buy it, and we can do a kit order, and we can buy in bulk for everyone.